President of Mallory Consulting and co-founder of Until Freedom. And she has a new book. It is titled, I Lived to Tell the Story. Thank you for the signed copy, which you brought me in the studio.
Absolutely.
I'm so happy to have that. We are going to get to your book in just a moment. But, remind viewers that you led that wave of public resistance, really, during Trump's first term.
Right.
How do you view the supposed new alliance between the president and your hometown mayor and the plans to drop charges without prejudice so they can be revived at any time?
Yeah, this is very alarming. I think, listening to all that's happening in this moment, everyone, not just New Yorkers, but across the country should be concerned about what we're seeing. First of all, the Department of Justice is not supposed to be the personal law firm of the president or anyone in the federal government. In fact, they're supposed to be operating in complete and clear autonomy. And I don't believe that that's what we're seeing happen in this situation.
Because he staffed it with his personal attorneys.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then you see that, folks are making public resignations. That's also dangerous. And I watched a clip recently of Mayor Adams on TV, I think Fox, with Tom Homan, the border czar. And the conversation there was pretty alarming as well. It was actually embarrassing to have Tom Homan say, isn't this what we agreed upon? And if not, I'll show up in your office. And it reeks of a lot of things that we don't have time to dive into today. But it was embarrassing, I think, for Adams. And I also think it's a part of what is really dangerous in this moment.
I know that you were scheduled to appear this week with New York's public advocate, Jumaane Williams, who has called on Adams to resign, and who were to resign,
right,
he would then become the mayor, right? So what happens what are you concerned about if Adams actually serves out his term, as he says he's going to, and then he decides to run again as a Democrat with all of this sitting, in a Fox News interview right next to Tom Homan, the border czar?
Yeah, I think that the public advocate, Jumaane Williams, has done a good job of trying to balance the conversation between innocent until proven guilty. And now we're starting to see a debacle. This is becoming a circus for the city of New York. And people did not vote for Eric Adams, who seems to be half, Republican, half Democrat, maybe with Donald Trump, maybe not. That's not what folks are looking for. And so when it's time, if he does choose to run for office again, I think he's going to see that a lot of support that he's had, he will lose.
Let's turn to Trump's anti-diversity initiatives, just ripping through the private sector, as well as companies fearing losing federal contracts there. They're facing investigations. Right. What do you think is the broader impact of this?
Well, certainly diversity, equity, and inclusion is the term I like to use, because when we say DEI, folks don't always get what we're talking about, right? And there should be really no debate about standing very firm as a company or as the federal government or anyone else on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so, I think that it is an attack on African Americans and the gains that we have made, many things that we had to fight for. People didn't just wake up and say, oh, we want to be diverse. No, we actually fought to make that happen. It's also an attack on women. But to be clear, if you were listening to Donald Trump while he was running for president, he said this. He made women and other vulnerable communities a part of those being targeted by him and the rhetoric that he used. And if you look at the Republican Party and their platform, it furthers that. And so I think what we can do in this particular moment as we get ready for the midterm elections, because I think that's where a lot of our response will be. But what we can also do in this moment is to look at these corporations and say, how much do we spend with you? And if you are choosing, Target being one of the companies that I'm specifically involved in the boycott movement for them, we can say, how much do we spend with you? And if you don't respect diversity, equity, and inclusion, then we can pull our resources back and keep our money in our pockets.
Yeah, including spending those no-spend days.
Absolutely.
Have a day you don't spend any kind of money. There's one for Amazon coming up, and a whole week of other ones. Let's talk about you and the book, because you've been involved in civil rights since you were, 15 years old?
Yes. Well, even younger than that. My parents started me out when I was a toddler. So
well, it brought you to where you are now in this book.
Right.
You document in this book your evolution as an activist in this memoir. And I'm curious what you see as the biggest threat facing the American democracy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what we talked about, everything in this segment, is a part of it. But I also want us not to relax as if this is normal. This is not normal. None of what we're seeing is normal. And we have to fight. No matter who would be the president, people like me would have been outside, as they say. So it could have been Kamala Harris. We would have still been advocating for really, really important issues. But we cannot feel as if we can't win, if we are defeated and go home. We have to strategize. Certainly, we're dealing with a much more hostile federal government, and therefore the way that we approach it has to be more strategic. But nonetheless, we don't get to sit down and either allow this to become normalized or just feel so defeated that we don't continue to do the work. So we'll still be out there. We'll still be organizing, and we're going to continue to do that. Doesn't matter who's in elected office. All of them have to be pushed to address the issues of the communities that I represent.
Well, it is a book. I live to tell the story. The name indicates a little bit about it. The tenor of it. There are some raw parts. And Tamika Mallory, congratulations on writing it.
Thank you.
And I mean, you're not very old at all. So
I am
all
not.
the years.
I'm 44 though, and this book has a lot in it, covering my childhood all the way to where I am today. There's been some challenges, absolutely, and I hope that folks will take it and use it as inspiration for their lives.
Well, there's a lot to be inspired by. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Coming